Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on this episode, I've got a special one for you because I'm telling you, do not buy these expensive cards. Now, okay, I guess I should say you can do whatever you want, right? This is just my advice on what you should and should not be buying right now. And I'm going to give you a variety of reasons to not buy these cards. Even if you've got the budget for them, maybe either don't buy them or hold off on buying them. So let's jump into it. And we're going to start things off with a card that sees a ton of play in Commander. I mean, a lot of these do actually. All of these see a lot of play in Commander, but especially Demonic Tutor. This card sees an absurd amount of play, and it is absurdly expensive. It is a sorcery for 1 and a black. Search life for a card, put the card in your hand, then shuffle. This is any card in your deck plus 2 mana, essentially. It is the best tutor out there. One of the best tutors out there, I should say. It is absurd, and it is also absurdly expensive. I mean, if we're looking at all the printings of it, I mean, the lowest price right now is like $35 to $40 or so. The thing is, though, and why I'm saying do not buy this card is, well, there are a lot of alternative cards that are somewhat similar to this one. I mean, Demonic Tutor is actually the exact same thing as Diabolic Tutor, except Diabolic Tutor costs 2 more mana. Now, if you are playing hyper competitive, yeah, you're going to want the one that costs 2 less. But, hey, if you're just playing casual, you're going to have time to actually cast your tutors most likely and get things that you need. There's a brand new tutor that just came out in Lord of the Rings that's great as well, that even tempts you. You know, that kind of thing. The ring tempts you. Cool. There's all these different ways to tutor. There's a lot of more specific tutors like transmute cards like Dimir Houseguard. And also, and I'm going to bring this up on probably all these cards, I believe. This is a card that, again, is a staple in Commander, or a staple. It's one of the most played cards in Commander. And coming up on, I believe, August 4th is when we're going to get the release of Commander Masters, which is supposed to have a ton of incredible Commander-specific reprints. And yeah, this card does see play in other formats, of course, but yeah, it sees a lot of play in Commander. So this card, which hasn't been reprinted, yeah, I mean, okay, Mystery Booster and like Mystical Archive, sure, those kinds of things. But like seeing a real reprint, like since Ultimate Masters, which was like 2018, I believe. Correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong on any of these dates. There's a lot of information here. But yeah, this one hasn't seen a real reprint in quite some time. So coming out in the Commander's Master set, that could be a massive, you know, case for it to drop a lot in price. And again, I bet Commander Master is going to be a set that sells really well. And if this is a card that does show up in there, yeah, its price could drop. So if you are thinking about getting this card still, maybe wait a little bit. Moving on, Eladamri's Call, another fantastic card, another heavily played card in Commander for a lot of reasons. It's an instant for just 2 mana, green, white. Search life for a creature card, reveal that card, put in your hand, then shuffle. There are other cards that do basically this as well, like Signal the Clans. That is, I mean, also 2 minutes in Gruul, and that one is kind of random on what you get. 3 creatures, different names, and then, you know, you get one of them at random, essentially. This one, obviously, is more specific. There are other cards out there that can specifically go get you a creature as well and get your hand, too, that cost a lot less. Now, they might cost more mana, but they do cost less money at, you know, $7.92. So not breaking the bank entirely, but still way outside of my budget. So there are replacements for this, but also, again, this one has not been reprinted, to my knowledge, since 2019 in Modern Horizons. And yeah, this is a very, very heavily played Commander card. So we shall see if this one comes out in the new Commander Masters set. So yeah, that could drop its price even further. I mean, way back when, this card used to be much more expensive before those reprints in Masters 25, the Modern Horizons, kind of back-to-back years, I think, 2018, 2019. We haven't seen it printing in 4 years. We shall see if it is going to be in this upcoming set. Moving on. Okay, this one desperately needs a reprint. I mean, it probably shouldn't have been printed, you know, ever. But, you know, here you go. Fierce Guardianship. Instant for 3 mana, 2 in a blue. If you control a commander, you may cast a spell paying its mana cost, counter target non-creature spell. Basically a free negate. I mean, the vast majority of the time you're going to have your commander in play, right? In a game of commander, you're going to be like, yeah, it's built around your commander. Get your commander in play. Cool. This is a free counter spell. Free counter spells are incredibly impactful, incredibly powerful. This one especially, because when it comes to countering things, there's a reason why Negate is one of the most heavily played commander cards of all time, and Essence Scatter is not. Essence Scatter is, you know, counter target creature spell. Negate is counter target non-creature spell. There's a reason why players want to counter non-creature spells more often. So yeah, this is a very, very good card. Again, a free counter spell for the vast majority of spells that you really care about countering, and this is a $47 card. Came out back in Commander 2020, hasn't seen a reprint since. And yeah, we shall see if this one actually gets a reprint. Obviously, there are a ton of other great counter spells out there. Now, there really aren't that many that are free counter spells, but we're getting a lot of cheap counter spells that are very effective, very efficient. I mean, just again, Negate is an incredible one. That one can actually be better than this in some scenarios. If you don't have your commander out, cool, it's 1 mana less. But if your commander is out, then it's not obviously as good. Still, there's a lot of great counter spells out there that are more budget friendly. I mean, Unwind can basically be a free one as well. If you got the mana for it, counter target non-creature spell, untap 3 lands. Cool, you can even gain mana on that too. That being said, yes, this is very good. This is very expensive, but this one might see a reprint. So again, if you are thinking about picking this one up, consider waiting until we see what's coming out in Commander Masters. Moving on, Deflecting SWAT in a somewhat similar way, and actually somewhat similar price, $46.98, almost $47. Yeah, this is also a card that came out in Commander 2020. And also a very, very, I'm not going to say broken, but really, really pushed card when it comes to, hey, here's a free spell. Instant for 2 and a red, control your commander, cast it for free. You may choose targets for target spell or ability. This can be incredibly impactful in a lot of situations, and in a way, it can kind of just be a counter spell as well, in a weird way, like a counter spell, I should say. So like if someone's trying to counter your spell, you're like, oh, okay, I'll Deflecting SWAT and retarget Deflecting SWAT. So therefore you counter this and not my original spell that I actually care about. So it's kind of like a weird red counter spell in a way. Red's got a couple ways to do that. Regardless, this card can see a lot of play in Commander, obviously, because again, free spells are very impactful, especially ones that can mess with what your opponents are trying to do. And it's obviously reflected in its price as well. It's $47. So again, there are a couple different things in red that kind of do similar-ish things. There's ways to copy spells like a reverberate type effect as well. So you could kind of get around a counter spell with that. When it comes to moving spells around like Wild Ricochet, those kinds of things, there are those not nearly as efficient. Obviously, there's other versions of this. That being said, obviously, this is probably one of the best versions of it, if not the best. And yeah, it might see a reprint. So if you are really wanting this kind of effect and you don't want those other kind of less efficient effects, sure, maybe just wait for Commander Masters to come around and then pick up this incredibly expensive and heavily played card. Next up, Marinus Ultimatum. This one has seen a ton of play ever since it came out back in, what is it, Ikoria? Yeah, Ikoria. Back in 2020. This one's around $5 or so. It's been creeping up in price. I think right when it started, it was like right around $1, and it was almost in my budget, and I was like, maybe it'll drop in, and of course it didn't. It just kept going up, and it's probably not going to keep stopping unless it sees a reprint coming up in Commander Masters, and I think that this one definitely should. I mean, this one kind of just fills in that kind of gap of like, you know what, this card's starting to see a lot of play. It's not really heavily played in other formats. It's very heavily played in Commander. A great card, probably what it does. Sorcery for red, white, black, so 7 mana in total. Very, very, very color dependent. Destroy non-land permanents your opponent's control. I mean, there's plenty of ways to fix your mana. There's plenty of ways to ramp. There's plenty of ways to cheat this out, essentially. In a one-sided board wipe, I mean, if you thought In Garruk's Wake was good, goodness gracious, this is just, hey, let's get rid of everything we don't control. Basically, Cyclonic Rift, essentially, but without the flexibility and with a lot heavier of a mana cost, essentially. I mean, they both cost 7, but this one's a lot more intense on what it costs, much more specific, and it's sorcery speed, but so this one actually destroys everything instead of bouncing everything, which typically is going to be better unless you're going up against Indestructible. Regardless, a one-sided incredible board wipe like this, of course, is very, very popular in Commander, and yeah, it's, $5 or so. That's not an incredibly expensive card. This is a card that is much more expensive than I like it to be, but yeah, we shall see. That price might drop a ton with its first ever reprint coming up in Commander Masters, if it does see a reprint there, I should say. And speaking of that, yeah, Cyclonic Rift, like I just mentioned with Marinus Ultimatum. Again, this is kind of like the pinnacle of all board wipes in Commander, right? There have been people calling for years for this to be banned because it is kind of an obnoxious card. Instant for 1 and a blue, bounce target non-land permanent you don't control to his owner's hand, or you can overload it for 6 and a blue. So basically, 7 mana, instant speed, bounce every single non-land permanent you don't control back to your hand, back to their owner's hands, I should say. And of course, basically one-sided board wipe that is flexible. So again, early on in the game, if you need to bounce something back for just 2 mana, or if you're short on mana and you really need a desperate, you're just like, oh, they're about to combo off with that, bounce that back, cool. Or hey, I'm about to set myself up to win. Let's just, yeah, right before my turn, bounce everything. Cool, there we go. So yeah, this one hasn't really seen too many reprints. Return to Ravnica, Commander 2014, Modern Masters 2017, Double Masters, which I believe, again, yes, is 2020. So it's seen as a couple of reprints throughout the years, but not as many as you'd think when it comes to like a card that is so heavily played and so synonymous with Commander. I think this has got to see a reprint of Commander Masters. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but yeah, it's a $35 card. We shall see if that price can be dropped down. Not sure exactly how far it's going to drop, though, because this is so heavily played in Commander. We shall see, though. But again, if you are looking for, other board wipes, there are a ton of other very effective board wipes in Commander. There's a ton of them, and you keep getting more and more and more. A lot of other great reprints that have dropped prices down. I mean, like, Austere Command is finally a budget card now, and it has been for quite some time now. A lot of great board wipes. I mean, Aether Gale, a great one that I absolutely love. Nowhere near as good as this. Still, there's a lot of replacements for this. You don't need to utilize this. I mean, unless, again, if you're playing at a higher competitive level or you really want to. And again, if you just want this card in your deck, cool. Just maybe wait to see if Commander Masters has it in stock. Moving on. Esper Sentinel. This one has been making a lot of waves since it ever came out back in Modern Horizons 2. This is a $25 card. A 1/1 human soldier for a single white mana. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless the player pays X for XX for Sentinel's power. Kind of like Mystic Remora-ish, except for like that is a variable amount that your opponents have to pay. And this is on a creature, an artifact creature. So it is decently easy to deal with. There's a lot of things they can deal with it. That being said, this stays around. It's going to give you a ton of value throughout the game. And obviously, if you've got ways to pump it, that can make it even more hard for your opponents to actually ever pay that amount. It's going to give you a lot of card advantage. Very popular card in Commander, especially more competitive Commander. If you are playing in those more competitive games and you're not proxying things, sure, maybe pick this up. But obviously, if you are playing in less competitive games, there are other, repeatable draw effects that are quite potent, actually, that are, in more budget-friendly terms. Even Phyrexia Arena, I think, is starting to drop down in price. Obviously, those are different colors, but you know what I mean. There are plenty of ways to draw cards these days. You are starting to get more and more effects in mono white, even. That being said, they could still use more. So there are some replacements for this. That being said, it's a very good card. It might see a reprint as well in Commander Masters. We shall see. So yeah, again, this has been about 2 years. It's never been reprinted, really, so we shall see what happens. Next up, Rhystic Study. Another card that is basically synonymous with Commander. This one, again, when it comes to its efficiency, when it comes to how good it is at doing what it does, yeah, there's not really any direct replacements for it. That being said, there are plenty of great, just repeatable draw effects, again, like I mentioned, or just great draw spells as it is in Commander. Plenty of great budget ones. Now, Rhystic Study, again, is quite efficient for what it does. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless the player pays 1. It's a champion for 3. Now, that being said, this might draw the ire of the table because many people are... well, to be fair, annoyed with Rhystic Study when it comes down because the question, are you going to pay the 1? Are you going to pay the 1? Are you going to pay the 1? Can be quite annoying. So it can be a very salty card. So you might just draw the ire of the table with this kind of a card versus another card that might not, upset all of your opponents. So be careful with this one. It's around $37 or so. This one has seen some reprints over the years. Its most recent reprint was actually in Jumpstart 2022. Now it comes to like an actual reprint. I'm not saying Jumpstart's not a real reprint. It's just not like a full set kind of reprint. At least I don't believe that it has that kind of an impact when it comes to finances. Its last real reprint was quite some time ago. I guess like it really hasn't. I'm trying to look. You got Jumpstart, you got Secret Lair Drop, you got Jumpstart, Mystery Booster. It's kind of like these all like ancillary products, just like off to the side, essentially, not really an actual set. So we shall see when this one actually gets a real reprint in like a Commander Masters. Maybe we shall see him again. Synonymous cards with Commander. I think if they're trying to make a big splash with Commander Masters, they're going to have to put some of these more expensive cards in there. So we shall see. Next up, in somewhat of a similar vein, Smothering Tithe. This one finally got a reprint in Double Masters 2022. Back in 2022. I don't know why I double checked that in the card, but there you go. Kind of like Rhystic Study, this can be an annoying card to play against, so it can get some salt, essentially factor and get, some ire of the table drawn at you. Enchantment for 4 mana. Whenever opponent draws a card, they can pay 2. If they don't, create treasure token. So again, you gotta pay the 2, you gotta pay the 2, you gotta pay 2. That can get annoying. It's a very, very good card. There really isn't anything else like this one that really does what this does. An absurd amount of treasures for you. Players are also starting to kind of maybe get a little tired of treasures, maybe start to target the players that make a lot of treasures because, yeah, they can be a very impactful thing. This one did see a technical reprint, I guess, with the Judge gift cards, but that's not really a technical reprint. That would affect price. Yeah, we shall see if this one comes out in Commander Masters. Again, a card that has become synonymous with Commander, so we shall see if that drops down. And then finally, just one I want to bring up, Mana Drain has so many other iterations of it minus the big thing that it does. So again, basically this is just Counterspell plus instant blue. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase, add an amount of colorless equal to that spell's mana value. Now this is kind of like a Pirate's Pillage essentially, but obviously it costs a lot less. This is just Counterspell again plus. Counterspell is an amazing card, sees so much play in Commander, but this one just technically better than a Counterspell. This one gives you free mana. Absolutely incredible. Obviously, seen some reprints over the years. finally starting to see more and more. It's $37 currently. Yeah, again, I would recommend to you, if you don't really play in that competitive of a format, or uncompetitive of a play group or LGS, maybe don't spend $37 on a counterspell when you can just buy a simple counterspell itself for like $1, or like a negate for like 10 cents. Just, there's a lot of other counterspells that are very effective, very efficient in Commander that you don't need to break the bank on. So yeah, this for your guardianship, you can avoid those. If you really want to buy it though, this might be another one that does show up in Commander Masters, because it does still see a ton of play in Commander, so that might drop the price a little bit. Again, last time it was printed was 2022, so again, maybe some more of these, like, this Smothering Tide, ones that seen reprints more recently, they might not put in, but we shall see. So yeah, those are my picks for currently cards that maybe, again, don't buy them, don't pick them up unless I guess I would say, even if you want to play with them and you don't want to utilize, maybe they're less efficient counterparts, maybe just wait until Commander Masters comes out and to see if there's going to be these cards in them. If they're going to see reprints in them, their prices will drop. So yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on these. What other cards would you recommend to players to not pick up? What cards are, like a doubling season? Those cards are incredibly expensive as well. And yeah, that was probably one I should have brought up as well. Incredibly expensive. You can get around, not using them. Some of an effective deck. Yeah, it's not 100% needed for decks. I mean, maybe if you're playing like really, really expensive, really, really, really powerful Super Friends, sure. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of different incredible budget cards out there that can fit the exact same slot as these cards in a deck. They might not be as effective, but they might be more synergistic with your deck too. So yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on all of these. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.